Welcome back, horror fans. Today we're diving into 5 bone-chilling tales straight from the depths of the prison system. These stories, shared on Reddit by guards and others with first-hand experience, will make you think twice about what goes on behind those iron bars. Story 1, The Whisperer. Our first tale comes from a female corrections officer working in a state prison with death row inmates. She tells us about a prisoner we'll call Michaels, a man who brutally murdered 4 people, including his ex-girlfriend and her family. Michaels was known for his eerie behavior. He'd stand silently at his cell door all day, just watching. But that wasn't the creepiest part. One day, as our CO was quietly chatting with a colleague far down the hall, Michaels did something that still gives her nightmares. As she walked past his cell later, he whispered her name. Then, in a barely audible voice, he repeated word for word the entire conversation she just had, even mimicking her voice perfectly. The CO says it felt like she was face to face with pure evil. "I've been assaulted by inmates, had piss thrown in my eyes, and dealt with constant mind games," she writes. "But this was the one and only time in my life where I felt inside of me like I was dealing with something not human." Michaels is now on death row, refusing to appeal his sentence. Not out of remorse, mind you. He just doesn't give a damn either way. Talk about chilling indifference. Story 2, The Abandoned Prison. Our next story takes us to Europe, where a group of American students stumbled into a nightmare while exploring an abandoned prison. For months, they'd been sneaking into the old complex to take photos and poke around. But one night, 2 of the teens decided to go in after dark. As they climbed higher in the pitch-black building, they found something truly disturbing: tiny cells with porn plastered on the walls, used needles, and other unsettling items. Even worse, a logbook showed someone had been there just 2 days earlier. Freaked out, the teens headed to the roof for some fresh air. But their night was about to get way worse. As they burst out onto the roof, they found themselves face to face with a group of neo-Nazi gang members in the middle of an illegal arms deal. The gang started grilling the terrified teens, asking personal questions and debating what to do with them. Just when it seemed like things couldn't get any worse, our quick-thinking narrator seized a moment of distraction to make a daring rooftop escape. "We didn't stop running until we reached the city center," he writes. "To think that roof could have been the last thing I saw." Story 3, The Ambush. Our third tale comes from a young, naive corrections officer working the night shift alone. One night, as she's doing her rounds, she hears a loud banging on the pod door. It's her coworker, frantically pointing to the bottom of the stairs. Turns out, a muscular inmate had been hiding naked behind the shower curtain, waiting to ambush her as she came down the steps. If her coworker hadn't shown up at that exact moment, well, who knows what might have happened. "I was good and scared," she writes. "To this day I still keep a close watch on my stairways when I'm doing rounds." Story 4, The Unwanted Pen Pal. Our fourth story is a reminder of why you should be careful about giving out personal info. A woman shares how her friend tried to set her up as a prison pen pal without her consent. This friend's incarcerated brother started sending increasingly creepy letters talking about being in love and wanting to be her child's new daddy. He even asked her to be his girlfriend, despite never having met her. "I'm actually kind of scared of this guy and I don't want him near me or my son," she writes. A stark reminder that some people behind bars are there for good reason. Story 5, The Number Game. Our final story takes us back to 1960s Miami, where a prison guard encountered an inmate he described as a younger Hannibal Lecter. This guy was eerily calm but menacing, able to manipulate others with ease. One day, he managed to incite a full-scale riot without even participating himself. He got every other prisoner riled up and fighting while he just stood back and watched the chaos unfold. But the real kicker? As pandemonium erupted around them, this inmate just stood there, staring the guard dead in the eye while muttering a string of numbers. It took a moment for the guard to realize what he was hearing. The inmate was reciting his home phone number over and over. Talk about psychological warfare. This inmate had somehow gotten hold of the guard's personal information and was using it to send a chilling message: "I know where you live." These stories serve as stark reminders of the dangers faced by those working in corrections, as well as the truly disturbed individuals who sometimes end up behind bars. They highlight the importance of maintaining professional boundaries and being cautious about personal information. But they also raise some deeper questions. What turns a person into someone like Michaels or the younger Hannibal Lecter? Can anyone truly be pure evil? Or is there always a human element, no matter how deeply buried? And what about the system itself? The abandoned prison story shows how quickly things can go wrong when correctional facilities are left to decay. The story of the naked inmate waiting to ambush the female CO highlights the dangers faced by prison staff, especially women working in male facilities. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more terrifying tales from the dark side of reality.